All right, sir. So now we are live, so we can start the session now, please.
Okay. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Today's session would be in multi-drug resistant organisms. I'll be very short and crisp because in this COVID time, I think everybody is overburdened, and we will touch very salient points and very important things which will help you in your clinical day-to-day clinical practices. Because with all the patients on old patients on steroids and prolonged ICU stay, patients would be requiring these kind of molecules, right? The outline of this presentation would be like this. We will first discuss about the global prevalence of multi-drug resistant organisms. What is the scenario of resistance in India? And how polymyxin B, which is an old drug, has come into practice again. Then we will specifically discuss about polymyxin B regarding its mechanism of differences of polymyxin B with the sister drug, which is colistin, its spectrum, its indications, its efficacy and safety, and finally, where is the place of using polymyxin B in clinical practices. Right? So we will start with the global prevalence of multi-drug resistant organisms. Please remember that these kind of drugs are to be reserved and to be used only in specific case scenarios. Okay. So that incidence of multi-drug resistant gram-negative bacteria in the world and specifically in India is increasing. So more the number of antibiotics we use, more the resistance prevalence increases. So it has become a never-ending threat for clinicians and to patients in 21st century, which is worsening day by day. It is the incidence is worsening, or rather, incidence is increasing bacteria in hospitals and particularly in ICUs, which leads to very high mortality, very high morbidity, and very high cost of treatment. Right? Little bit change in scenarios there as compared to the global scenario, because in India, the primarily gram-negative organisms or hospital-acquired infections are caused by gram-negative organisms in comparison to Western countries where gram-positive organisms are as prevalence of an MRSA rather would be more than other gram-negative organisms. So maybe say 50-55% of people will be having gram-positive resistant organisms, most likely MRSAs in ICUs. So here in India, primarily gram-negative multi-drug resistance is the problem. In multiple studies, the incidence of MRSA is only 6 to focus more on gram-negative multi-drug resistant organisms. Now, the incidence of gram-negative bacteria having resistant to even a carbapenem is rising. It also depends on the patient's factors. It depends on the specific areas, even hospitals, and the kind of organism which is prevalent. So as of now, obviously the keep on changing, but as of now, this is a 2017 global report which says that almost 18% of E. coli, which is very, very common bacteria, is resistant to carbapenems. Right? That worsens with Pseudomonas, which is almost 30% of Pseudomonas are resistant to carbapenems. Almost 60% of Klebsiella are resistant to carbapenems, and the most notorious one is Acinetobacter baumannii, which is almost 75 to 80% resistance, which are resistant to carbapenems, which pose a very serious threat to the patient's health. So what do we do about it? So what can we do is a three-way solution. What can be first can be better infection management and prevention. So the strategy of prevention of infection cannot be stressed upon. Especially we have understood in this pandemic of COVID, or rather I would say the COVID which is happening, we can never overstress the need of prevention. Similarly, in routine ICU practices, it is always better to use multiple infection prevention strategies and to keep your level of infection low. Then thus rational use of antimicrobial agents. Third thing is that we antimicrobial agents, especially with very high level of carbapenem resistance. It was found that let us try in desperation use some old antibiotics which were there. Say suppose some antibiotics like polymyxin B was in use in 1970s. So those kind of antibiotics, fosfomycin, these kind of antibiotics are now being rediscovered with few changes so that the toxicities are less and the uses are better. Even though they are old, the resistance to these antimicrobial agents are still less. Most worrying thing is this line that no new drugs are in pipeline, which we will be able to access news very soon. So most of the multi-drug resistant or extreme drug resistant bacteria, we will need to tackle them with the existing antimicrobial agents only, because there are no new antimicrobial agents which are in the pipeline for say we are going to have to tackle these kind of things. Okay, so this gives us a bit of scenario about the present condition of multi-drug resistant organisms. So what people have done is they have tried to rediscover the older drugs like colistin, like minocycline, like fosfomycin, and polymyxins. So these are drugs which were used and better drugs and for their safety profiles. So now all these kind of drugs are being reused because all the good drugs which had a good safety profile and which showed very good excellent results have now become redundant because of the presence of multi-drug resistant bacteria. Now, what are the treatment options? So we'll go very focused. What are the current treatment options in ICU in patients who are in bacterial isolates which show multi-drug resistance or extreme drug resistance or a pan-drug resistance? So these are increasing. I am sure most of us must have seen many of these patients and might even have used polymyxin Bs and colistins. So we will understand a bit more. I hope that I'll be able to give you a little bit more insight about the use of these. So as of now, in multi-drug resistant or especially XDR bacteria, polymyxins are only effective, and they still have 90% sensitivity against multi-drug resistant gram-negative bacilli. In the practice, so this polymyxins are a group of antimicrobial agents which were polymyxin A to polymyxin E. So 5 most commonly developed polymyxin B and polymyxin E, which we commonly know as colistin. So these are available for commercial use, and we are going to talk about these two drugs only in the category of polymyxins. So what is the mechanism of action of a polymyxin B or a colistin? So primarily they are bactericidal drugs. How they work? They work as a what is called as detergent-like action. So they would disturb or they will kill the outer membrane of the bacterial cell wall of the gram-negative lipopolysaccharide structure of the which is covering over the outer membrane of the gram-negative bacteria. It disrupts it. It causes the disturbances in specifically calcium and magnesium. This leads to insertion between the phospholipids of the cytoplasmic membrane, leading to the loss of membrane integrity and bacterial cell death. So primarily it functions in two ways. Say, suppose detergent-like action, it causes the disruption of lipopolysaccharide layer, which is there on the outer membrane of the bacterial cell wall. That is how it also causes a synergy between other materials. It breaks the the resistance of the bacteria to other antimicrobial agents also and make them useful. So that we will see how it works. So as I said, that polymyxin is a group of antimicrobial agents. They were 5, and the polymyxin E, which is colistin. So these two drugs are more or less similar, and till now either of them were being used, but now there are more and more data about their differences also in between them. So if we say indication, as if we say the sensitivity pattern, it is absolutely same. Mechanism of action, absolutely same, right? So what is the difference? The spectrum. So both of them work on all these gram-negative bacteria, E. coli, Klebsiella, Enterobacter, Acinetobacter, Pseudomonas, and all these kind of things. But they are not active against Proteus, Providentia, Serratia, Neisseria, Burkholderia sylvatica, gram-positive organisms, or anaerobic organisms. So if we are using it empirically sometimes, in cases where there are patient developing multi-drug resistant bacteria, all these factors should be considered before we go for empirical therapy. So these were the similarities. What are the differences between polymyxin B and colistin? So can we use one against other, or so we will see this. First important thing for more of theoretical purposes is chemistry and structure. There is only one amino acid component which is different between colistin and polymyxin if we talk about the structure and chemistry. So instead of this leucine in colistin, there is phenylalanine, right? But it causes all the differences. This one single change in amino acid sequence will lead to all the changes. So polymyxin B is an amphipathic structure. It has a hydrophobic fatty also, which contributes to its basic property of pharmacokinetics, and thus polymyxin B is well distributed in polar and non-polar environment, which means the volume of distribution of polymyxin B is very good. Other important differences now we are coming to. So practically, clinically, what are the more important differences between polymyxin B and colistin? I'm sure most of you must have used also, but use of colistin became started earlier, and it was rampantly used. But in last say 4-5 years, the use of polymyxin has increased drastically in preference to colistin. Why? This is something that I would need to stress upon. Now, the important thing here is first thing. So you have a patient who is in ICU in a very critical situation. Patient has arrived, these kind of things. So the first thing that we would like to do is give antimicrobial agent, which is appropriate antimicrobial agent. We would like the antimicrobial agent to be effective and to reach its peak concentration as soon as possible, right? So then here comes the role of dosing, and here comes the role of pharmacokinetic properties. Now, colistin is most commonly available as a CMS, which is called colistin sulfate, which is a prodrug. All of this prodrug is injected in the body. This prodrug gets converted into active colistin. So almost 70% of the CMS is converted into a active compound, which is colistin. Now this conversion of the drug takes a lot of time, right? Which may be up to say almost 7 hours from the time of injection. So polymyxin B is a as soon as your infusion ends, the plasma concentration will reach to its peak. Whereas in colistin, your plasma concentration may take to say 7 days or to reach the peak of colistin levels, right? So this becomes very important in critically ill patients. Now, second important difference is the clearance. Colistin is primarily secreted or excreted from the body. Advantages and disadvantages also. Why? Because in comparison to colistin, polymyxin has mostly non-renal excretion or the degradation. So if your kidneys are hampered, the dosing of colistin is going to change, because you will have to adjust the doses. But with polymyxin, because it is predominantly non-renally cleared, so adjusting a dose in renal dysfunction in ICU, which is dynamic always, and that to a very, very critical drug, which is like colistin, which may be the only life-saving drug available. So to have a drug which is there in the body in adequate concentrations and also not causing toxicity, so that balance, making a balance of such kind of drug becomes very monitor the drug levels. So majority of the hospitals do not have facility to monitor the concentration and the levels of colistin, whereas polymyxin is non-renally cleared, so it is not affected by the degree of renal dysfunction. And even in patients who are requiring dialysis, you do not need to change its dosing. So that becomes a very important criteria. Very important criteria is that polymyxin B has less nephrotoxicity. So the major concern about use of colistin or the class of polymyxin drugs, even when it was abandoned in 1970s, was because of the nephrotoxicity and neurotoxicity. So both these major complications have been taken care of. Now the nephrotoxicity of both the drugs is much less nowadays, but still nephrotoxicity of then polymyxin B. So that has been established. So these are very important differences between the two drugs, which we need to know. Right? So overall, polymyxin B has a very favorable pharmacokinetic profile in critically ill patients. Why? To summarize, it is available in active drug form, so it reaches the peak concentration very fast. It has more consistent active drug concentration because excreted by kidney. Inter-individual variability is low, which means your dosing and the fluctuation, the absorption, the conversion of CMS into active colistin, all these factors are there, which may lead to very wide variation in the active doses which are there in the body. But polymyxin B will have a very low inter-individual variability. So, which means the adequate therapeutic concentrations will be better maintained by use of polymyxin B than colistin. And obviously it is non-renally cleared. So only 4% of this thing is of polymyxin B is excreted. This is another way of showing it. So if you give IV administration, if you give IV administration of polymyxin B, it will be non-cleared, non-converted because it is an active drug. So it will be excreted, secreted in salivary, pulmonary, biliary, mammary gland. All these will be concentrated, and only 4% is renal clearance. If you administer colistins in the form of CMS, it will be converted into active colistin, and 70% of almost 70% would be the your original concentration of the total dose that you have given, and majority of the excretion would be by kidney. So almost 64 excreted unchanged in urine, right? 64% is unchanged in urine. That is the pharmacokinetic profile. Now this is something about the dose of polymyxin B. So what dose should we give, and what are the pharmacokinetic implications of the doses of polymyxin B even? So this is a Monte Carlo simulation, which shows that you should always give even the polymyxin by using a loading dose, because as we give most of the medicines that antibiotic that we give in critical care is our initial loading dose followed by maintenance dose, because the patient is sick and you will never have enough time, and lesser amount of concentration are going to lead to much more chances of drug resistance. They showed using four parameters, five regimes rather. So in first regime they used 1.25 mg per kg 12-hourly infusion. That's it. Another regime they initially gave 2 mg per kg loading, followed by similar 1.25 mg per kg infusion. Mg per kg, this is the dose of polymyxin B is, we will see. So 1 mg 10,000 international units. 1 mg of polymyxin B is equal to 10,000 units of polymyxin B, because most of the times we use it in this ratio in international units, not in milligram. Then there was this one third regime where they showed 1.5 mg per kg as 1 hour infusion, 12-hourly. In this they loaded with 2.5 mg, and then in last one they use 2.5. And primarily the conclusion from all this was that you should use a initial bolus doses, because in those patients where initial bolus was given at day 4, the concentration of polymyxin B was significantly higher than in patients where the bolus dosing was not used. So we will discuss about the dosing in later slides. Now again, coming to similarity and differences of polymyxin B and colistin. Chemically they are same, only one amino acid is different formulations. So polymyxin B is available as active form, and this is available as prodrug, from which CMS form, from which the colistin will be converted. Mechanism of action are absolutely same. There are no difference between the mechanism of actions. Spectrum of activity, again, same. So both the drugs would be active against wide number of gram-negative bacteria, especially the notorious ones, Acinetobacter, Pseudomonas, Klebsiella, and E. coli, which are very, very common. Rest gram-positive and anaerobic, they do not work. Pharmacokinetic properties, which are important. So polymyxin B reaches peak plasma concentration at end of 1 hour infusion. As soon as your infusion ends, it will be the peak of your concentration. It is predominantly non-renally cleared, and hence there is no, the concentrations are not affected by renal function, and there is no dose changes in renal impairment. Whereas in colistin, you need to check your renal functions, and you have to monitor your renal functions and then calculate and adjust the doses, which is most of the times possible even. So you will find many differences in opinion between doctors treating patients who have renal dysfunction and they want to use colistin. So there will always be differences, but there is nothing like that in polymyxin B. Clinical uses. So clinical studies are increasing. Colistin started to be in use in much earlier. Many other studies which are available. It can always be used as inhalation form, whereas polymyxin B cannot be used in inhalational form. Adverse effects. So most common adverse effects are nephrotoxin and neurotoxicity, similar with colistin, but it has been now with newer and newer data, it is being shown that colistin is much more nephrotoxic than polymyxin B. So now what are the indications in intensive care? So these kind of drugs which are used in multi-drug resistant bacteria, carbapenem resistant bacteria, and extreme drug resistant bacteria are primarily, those kind of patients are primarily in intensive care users. As we discussed, these are used in severe infections which are caused by susceptible strains of Pseudomonas, Acinetobacter, Klebsiella, and multi-drug resistant Enterobacteriaceae. It can also be used as empirically in patients who have resistance, such as immunosuppression, previous use of antimicrobial agents, patients on dialysis, patients who have been in hospital for various reasons, those kind of patients, or who have had major abdominal surgeries, right? So if there is high prevalence of carbapenemase producing bacteria, then maybe you can use empirically in critically ill patients. So they have polymyxin B has good penetration in most of the only area or only indication of using colistin over polymyxin. So till now what I have said is indicates that polymyxin B is in a way much better drug than colistin. But the only indication where you should use colistin over polymyxin B is urinary tract infections. So as we said, of colistin in urine is much more higher, because 64% of CM it is excreted through urine. So the urinary concentration of colistin is far higher than polymyxin B, because it is non-renally excreted. Urinary concentration are very less. So if you have a multi-drug resistant bacteria which you have developed, which you have grown from the urine, then colistin becomes a better choice than polymyxin. Rest everywhere, polymyxin B is a better choice, any place. MIC breakpoints for all the three major bacteria, Acinetobacter, Pseudomonas, Enterobacteriaceae. If you have MIC less than 2 microgram per ml, then it is considered a sensitive bacteria. to cholesterol. So what is the in vitro data regarding the use of polymyxin B? So in this study of 2008 by in Indian Journal of Critical Care Medicine, this is polymyxin B has rapid bactericidal activity against superbugs, and at that point of time, 2008, it was active against more than 95% of all these drug-resistant bacteria. Scenarios change. Second important thing is synergy. As I discussed briefly in previous slides, what polymyxin does is it causes the disruption of lipopolar polysaccharide structure over the bacterial cell wall. So bacteria have drug resistance. One of them is that the medicine or the antimicrobial agent is not able to breach the outer cell membrane. Now, what cholesterol does is it disrupts all those things, which may lead to other medicines now having a better chance of entering the bacterial cell wall. So that is how it works in synergy with other medicines. So bacterial therapy and polymyxin B combination treatments in XDR Acinetobacter baumannii has been shown here. So you can see in these slides that in combination, polymyxin B would lead to the increased activity of, say, commonly used drug, which is carbapenems, so that the bacteria which was not susceptible to carbapenems now becomes susceptible to it, because it has broken the it's not going to happen in all the cases, but it can happen because there are multiple mechanisms by which the bacteria will lead to drug resistance. So what is the data on clinical efficacy? These are multiple studies which have been done on use primarily on Pseudomonas and Acinetobacter. So this has shown that the survival of polymyxin B. Similarly, use of polymyxin B with or without combination drug in respiratory tract infections, the clinical cure rates were almost 76%, and bacteriological cure rate was around 41%, which holds true till now. Of how do we dose polymyxin B? Right. So the usual dose of polymyxin B in normal renal function is around 15,000 to 25,000 units per kg. Initially, we read about mg per kg. 1 mg is equal to 10,000 units per kg. So 10,000 units, sorry. So 1 mg is equal to 10,000 units. So if we say 15,000 to 25,000 units, which means 1.5 mg per kg, which is given twice daily. So 12 hourly doses. Should we do loading? Yes. So the best way would be to give around 2 mg or 2.5 mg per kg dose as a bolus, and then continue with 1.5 to 2.5 mg per kg 12 hourly. You will not need to change your doses. The data is again coming. Initial data is sparse, but more and more confidence is being built up by more and more studies that using higher doses of polymyxin B is safe, and nephrotoxicity is much less, and the dose adjustments are not needed. Another data which is showing polymyxin B in combination with other agents as a combination therapy. So it is a good, safe structure. Good and safe. Sorry, this was previous slide. Good and safe drug to be used. What is the method of preparation? You can use dissolve this 0.5 million units of polymyxin B in 300 ml of solution and use for continuous. It is to use it over an infusion of around 1 hour. What are the warnings and precautions? Obviously, we should check baseline renal functions, though the nephrotoxicity is less, but it is still there, and monitor the renal functions while patient is on polymyxin B. Also, we should avoid concurrent use of muscle relaxants, which are neurotoxic and nephrotoxic drugs, both. So we should avoid using all those kind of medicines of polymyxin B. We should also look for signs of respiratory paralysis and respiratory depression. As with other antimicrobial agents, use of broad spectrum antimicrobial agents may lead to overgrowth of non-susceptible organisms such as fungi. Right? Side effects we have already discussed. Nephrotoxicity is most common, which leukemia, rising blood levels of urea and creatinine without any increase in the dose. Neurotoxic reactions, which may include dizziness, ataxia. Ataxia is more common rather, and dizziness, drowsiness, and peripheral paresthesias. Other reactions which can be which may be because of any drug, such as drug fever, urticaria, pain at intramuscular sites, thrombophlebitis, and these kind of common. So this is again a study which is a more recent one, which is showing that polymyxin B may be less nephrotoxic than colistin. So if you see the effect of colistin versus this bar is of polymyxin B and this is of colistin. So if creatinine clearance was more than 90, the chances of renal failure in using of colistin is, say, see how much difference it is. In less amount of the patients already having less creatinine clearance, the chances was still very high and much lesser, significantly lesser with the use of polymyxin B. To summarize, used in critically ill patients with serious gram-negative infections. It is an active drug form. It has a favorable pharmacokinetic property, more consistent plasma active drug concentration. It is eliminated by non-renal pathway, low inter-individual variability in comparison to colistin, good susceptibility, rapid killing of so-called superbugs, proven efficacy, easy dose adjustments, and generally it is very well tolerated with much less toxicity. So it is a broad spectrum antimicrobial agent with very good susceptibility against MDR and XDR gram-negative bacteria. But as like colistin, it should be reserved as last resort for treating serious infections when rest of the drugs are resistant. So polymyxin B has few pharmacological advantages over colistin, and clearance is by non-renal pathway and it can be considered in sepsis with renal impairment. Definitely it can be used. The only place of colistin nowadays is urinary tract infection, where it should be preferred over polymyxin B. Okay, thank you. Questions?
Thank you so much, sir. Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, audible.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for your beautiful presentation. So, sir, we can wait for the 1 or 2 minutes. If any attentive have any question, they will write in the chat box. Okay.
Sure. So are you asking me about that heme adsorbent filters which are used for
Yeah,
management of sepsis to absorption of interleukins and those kind of things?
endotoxin. Sir, can I talk, sir?
Endotoxins.
Can I
Yes.
talk, sir? Rahul. Sir, this was regarding in nowadays for sepsis, severe
Mhm.
sepsis patient, like immobilized fiber direct hemoperfusion. It is a column, sir, wherein polymyxin B is introduced.
I know.
Well, it is
I know.
embedded. And
It
sir, that
was
again helps you in the improvement of the patient. So that generally we use in Indian scenario, or still it is India is still back in that case using that column.
so this particular one has mostly been used in Japan. So major data which has
Japan, yeah,
come is
Turamycin.
from it has
Correct.
come from Japan, and
Yes.
there they have shown very good results. But those results have not been replicated in other areas. So it was available in India also, and people have used it. But till now, the study or user experience which can show that. So the level of IL-6 and other inflammatory markers will be lower. This has been definitely proven, but mortality is not improved. There are other ways where people are using similar kind of devices, the filters and these kind of columns. So some of them are using polymyxin B, some are using different kind of things to filter and leading to sepsis. But as of now, none of them are approved. Most of them have shown that the level of IL-6 reduces drastically and patients improve in the hemodynamic profile. Most of the patients will have their vasopressor stopped, and but it has failed to show better outcome. So at the end of the day, mortality is something that we are all interested in to
Yes.
reduce it. So that they have failed
Sir,
as of now.
yeah. So one more question, sir. Nowadays they are using this for COVID also, sir. The same filter in Japan, they have a study which shows again that in COVID they help us from removing the patient on ECMO or mechanical ventilator. Once it is one session or two session of this column is passed, the patient improvement is practically significant as compared to the normal. Yeah.
Again, in COVID, I think n number of things have been tried, right? But if you this is invasive, this is less available, this is costly. Before we resort to these kind of things, I think we have to have some decent amount of data. So the basic idea is absolutely okay to remove inflammatory storm rather. So COVID is inflammatory storm. We
Yes, sir.
have to control inflammatory storm, and
Yes,
then
sir.
you can save things. But as of now, this use of polymyxin columns and other mechanisms where people use different kind of things to remove IL-6. They and I'm not aware of any single study where they have shown any benefits unless it is company sponsored.
Okay. So, sir, in India, these columns are available. Matlab, hospitals are using not for polymyxin B, but as for other drugs, these columns are used, sir.
Yes, they were used but now they have gone out of favor because they have not shown any improvement in mortality. So maybe 8-10 years back, there was a lot of enthusiasm because if something would take care of cytokine storm, even in sepsis, then that was the thing that everybody is looking for, but it has not worked.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable feedback, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So another question is, does Poly B offer more safety over colistin? Yes. The primary safety is by less of nephrotoxicity. Definitely more nephrotoxic than polymyxin B. So in last, say, 3-4 years, I would say the practice has drastically changed in favor of polymyxin B. The polymyxin B is widely used now instead of colistin, which was obviously much more use. So the only place where we use colistin now is UTI, as I said. Neurotoxicity, similar. It is just the nephrotoxicity. Yes. So polymyxin B be used in COVID patients directly instead of through columns? Yes. Now, if you use intravenously, the idea of using polymyxin B is to kill the bacteria. So because of its bactericidal action. If you are using it in columns, the idea was to take care of the interleukin storm and not the bacteria. So the idea behind it is absolutely different. So maybe if you could reduce the cytokine storm in initial COVID phase, where there is no bacterial infection, so or minimal bacterial infection, so polymyxin B intravenously in that patient is not going to help us in any ways. So that has to be in the way of column for reducing endotoxins. But otherwise, intravenously, definitely we can use it. We use it rather for killing of bacteria.
So thank you so much, sir. And maybe the question answer is completed. Yeah, Rahul Dev
Okay.
sir says thank you for your guidance, sir. So
Most
thank you so
welcome.
much, sir, for giving us your valuable time and this very important session, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so
Stay
much, sir.
out of COVID. All of those you can.
Yes, sir.
Okay.